you hear me? Yeah. Don't go this one. I wanted to yeah, let's switch it last time, but usually, because what I like when they are, I like to partner up with like the wing. So you're gonna, hey, if you go with the wing on the side, hey, Chris, you're gonna pass through him for the communication. So you're teaming up with him. So that's what I usually do. I would say that if you are more experienced than the other, I would start you on this side and you on. Oh.
That's what I was for.
Yeah. If you're more senior, I would say, we'll start the other side and come back here. In the middle. We're in the middle of the US.
Just come here.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina, the National Collegiate Rugby Semifinals. Two old foes in the ARC Conference meeting today for the right to play in the championship. I'm Jeffrey Childs, along with our color analyst, E.C. Cantrell. E.C., these two teams not separated by a lot of mileage, know one another well. In October, Belmont Abbey had the lead in the first half. Queens, 33 unanswered points. They ran away with their game in the regular season.
Yeah, I think this is an absolutely huge matchup for both teams. It's the semifinals. We have St. Bonnie's and Walsh playing each other in the semifinals as well. So really big game to see who's going to make it to the finals.
Well, Belmont Abbey has never defeated Queens. The Royals 3-0 all-time against the Crusaders. They hope they can break through, punch a ticket for the championship match. Queens on the same trajectory they've been all year. They want to find a way to get it done.
Yeah, I think it's super important for Belmont Abbey to come out really strong here, just like they did in that last regular season game. The only difference now is they have to finish if they want to win. Queens has to respond just like they did last time if they want to also have the win.
These two teams feature a lot of high-flying offense. They really find a way to get it done as we're getting you ready for this one here at the Levine Center at Dixon Field. Two rivals in the Queen City. One of them will advance between the Royals and the Crusaders. DC, I'm super excited about this matchup. Again, these two teams know one another well. At this point in the year, they know one another's tendencies, what they like to do, whether it's backs, whether it's forwards, whatever it is. Where do you see this one kind of finding the tipping point?
Well, you know, I think for the Royals, they have a super strong forward pack, and we're seeing that they're playing around with some of those matchups. But I'm super excited to see what their forwards do today. They have a really strong assistant coach, Coach Etienne. He actually was seen training with Dricus du Plessis, who is the South African UFC fighter. So he brings a lot to the table, especially with his background in rugby. He was a professional rugby player and held high honors wherever he went. So I think it's a really strong side that Queens has for the forwards, and I'm excited to see how Belmont responds.
All right, and for the Belmont Abbey side, watching this team all year, we kind of had to put this broadcast together.
Yeah.
We found out it was happening here at Queens earlier in the week. But for Belmont Abbey, look for Louis Fahey, Harry Tuisla, who also handles the kicks, and the speedy Jean Tesson to break off some big runs for the Crusaders. Queens has the psychological edge, 3-0 all-time against the Crusaders. Again, Belmont Abbey had the lead. That'll be a testament to them if they can hold on to a lead, if they get it today in the second half. Queens ripped off a big second half first meeting.
Yeah, and Belmont Abbey started extremely strong last time, so it looks like they're going to get the ball on this kickoff. To see what they're going to do here is really important for them and the statement that they make in this game.
And we get an early throw in for the Crusaders, burrowing forward, and a massive humanity there going in.
Looks like the Crusaders are going to box kick here to gain space and territory as the ball goes straight out of bounds. So it will be the Crusaders' ball where the ball went out, as they were behind the 22-yard line, which means that they'll have the line-out throw. As I take back what I just said, looks like they were in front of the line, of the 22-yard line, so that means Queens will actually get the ball. They'll have the line-out throw, which is a thing that you don't want to always see in this rugby game matchup against Queens, because their lineouts are extremely strong as they do a little trick play here.
Right, you talked about the strength that they have in the scrum, and you see a little bit of it right there as they kind of worm their way up toward midfield. Slipped it off near the sideline. Going down for Queens, that was Valance.
And as that ball goes into touch, now it will be the Crusaders' ball at their line out. And I talked a little bit about the Royals' forward pack. I think they set up their backs extremely well with their dominant carries. I talked to a few of the players. They said that they've seen more breakthrough carries with their training done with Ethan Baker at 4G Performance. But also to talk about their backs a little bit, the forwards get that ball wide to the backs as they play up the field and see the space really well.
Well, the Crusaders, I mean, that'll be sort of a weakness for Belmont Abbey entering this one, is can they handle the physicality of Queens in the scrums?
Yeah, and we're going to see it now as it's Queens' ball, as we saw that knock on from the Crusaders. We'll have Landon Starnes put in the ball for Queens. They have a slight advantage when the 9 puts in the ball. And like I said before, Queens' scrum is extremely powerful.
At this point in the year, you know the tendencies well. The big thing in these kinds of matchups, right, to avoid the big mistake, turnovers and the like. Flip back quickly there from Hilton Olivier. Queens will try again. Zip one back to the left side, turning around the corner and going down. That was Camp. Queens will try again. Teams have tried that against Belmont Abbey this year, just trying to plow right through them. Belmont Abbey, pretty good defensive resistance.
Yeah, it looks like the Queens team will have to play around them, find the space, use their structure, play rugby, and tricky backs moves that they work on during training to get a try in this game.
On the hop, it was Ali Broderick for the Crusaders. Back for the Royals now. Side to side they go with it. Not a field position figuring here early, but it kicks back and forth. Crusaders diving on top of it there in midfield. You know, Belmont Abbey strength on strength. That's the 300-pounder Joshua Ragsdale. Ali Broderick with a high lofting kick again. Battle for possession. That'll take a bounce back into Queens territory. Fielded by Simon Hanks. Queens slipping by 1 and 2 tacklers going down for the Royals. Tertius Dietrichson. And then we're kind of feeling one another out here in this early going here in the national semifinal.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of a kicking game right now. I believe that Queens ball went straight out, so it's going to come back to where the ball was kicked. But yeah, they're kicking for a lot of territory here, also doing a lot of chip and chase just to test the waters, I think, because both teams, both players, we have Zach Colson at fullback for Queens, and I know you mentioned earlier you had a few players on the Crusaders who were really strong at their kicking.
All right, Harry Tuisla has handled the kicking for Belmont Abbey all season, penalties and conversions. And it's whipped forward across the way from Ali Broderick. Try to jumpstart the Belmont Abbey offense. They get it across midfield here and streak to the right sideline, putting their head down and burrowing forward once again. Strength on strength.
So it's going to be a line out for Queens there as the hit was taken out of bounds before the ball got dropped forward. We saw the Royals do a little trick play last time, just throwing it straight to that front player. A little bit about the line out in rugby is the ball has to go 5 meters. So you see that front number 3 staying there. That's where the ball has to go. You can throw it as far back as you want.
Queens away, and the Crusaders will field it at midfield. This is Samuel Patch, and he just promptly kicks it back. Queens with some room to run, zigzagging up across the midfield line. Going down are the Royals. Queens will bulldoze ahead, trying to get extra territory here. Submarine at the Royal logo. Coming in to provide support for the Crusaders, Riordan Sweet, who's the 220-pound flanker. We get a whistle.
Referee's just going to come back to a penalty he saw earlier. So that's what we call advantage in rugby. That gives the team a little bit of time to use the penalty that they had before the referee just straight away calls the penalty. So, you know, maybe you could score, gain a little bit of momentum instead of just stopping the game right there. So with that signal, he says that the Crusaders were actually offsides, so it's going to be a penalty to Queens.
EC, a former rugby player herself, really on top of it there. Appreciate that. As Queens will send one end over end into the Belmont Abbey side.
Yeah, so the Royals there were looking to kick to touch, because when you kick off a penalty straight into touch, you actually get the ball where it goes out of bounds. But when you miss touch, it gives the other team the opportunity to play. And the Crusaders just send it right back as the ball goes out of bounds. And we'll see whose ball it is here, what the referee signals, as it's Queens' balls. And you'll see they're doing a smaller line out here, so they only have 4 players in. You can do up to 8 players, I believe even more, but most of the time and most of the season, Queens has been doing more players in their line out. So I think they're trying something different here, and we saw that there's a penalty on this play. It's going to be a free kick penalty to the Crusaders.
One more look here at the lineouts.
Up hard, right there.
I believe the call is the player coming out of the line out and trying to re-enter. You have to stay in that line, jump out, jump back in the right way. The referee saw something there he did not like.
Let's go, defensive pressure!
Belmont Abbey and Queens to the Final Four here in the NCR. We have an all ACR Final Four here, all conference teams. St. Bonaventure in the other one. Queens won the regular season title in the ARC. Continue that momentum here into the postseason. This is the furthest Belmont Abbey's ever been in their history too, so a lot riding on this clearly for both teams. Uncharted territory for the Crusaders.
Yeah, and we've seen a history of Queens making it actually past the semifinals to the finals, but just coming short each time. So I think their goal is to have this win and then get to the finals and also have that win, because they fell short a few times.
Queens won a national championship in Division II before being elevated to D1 a couple of years ago. So some great rugby history for the Royals here. around the Queens try line.
Yeah, it's just going to be a knock-on from the Queens player there. I believe in the line out, the ball got bobbled. As you see, the ball hits the player's hands. It goes slightly forward before anybody can collect it, and so that's going to be a scrum down to the Crusaders. And I might say in a really good spot for them. If they can capitalize on this here, that would be really big for this game, especially because we're already 10 minutes into this match and there's no score on the board.
Right. I think that favors Belmont Abbey coming in as the underdog here.
Absolutely.
On the road at Queens.
Yeah, referee's just going to give them one more chance to get this scrum right, have a little chat to those front rowers. Getting a scrum and to operate perfectly in rugby can be really difficult. You almost have to work together, but also work against the team that you're fighting against. So it's a really tricky art.
Go Queens, win it!
You mentioned again, Queens, forwards here, a big part of this one with their advantage in the scrums. We'll see if Belmont Abbey can punch it in here and they can pull ahead.
Right, because they do have an advantage by placing the ball in. We'll see a little bit of Queens' defensive side, as it holds pretty well, and they do a really good job, the Crusaders.
And the Crusaders flip it ahead, streaking in for the try. It's loose. Where is it?
Yes!
Belmont Abbey did not touch it down.
We'll see here on the replay. I believe the motion of the referee's hands after the penalty was called was a forward pass. So you saw, yep. Or not, because it's the Crusaders' ball. Whatever the referee saw there, he didn't like. He's giving the advantage to the Crusaders, so they'll have the scrum down.
Zany beginning to this game here.
Push, Queens, big push!
Again, having a good territorial spot, the Crusaders on the scrum, as we see the Queens' defensive scrum take place here with a massive push as they get a big, big penalty on the 5-meter.
Queens holding firm here at Dixon Field. Expect a good crowd for this for both sides.
And Queens chooses to kick to touch there, as I was explaining earlier. When you get a penalty, you have a few options. You can take a quick tap where you place the ball on your foot and kind of can play whatever game of rugby you like. You can run up the field, pass the ball out, or you can kick straight out of bounds and you will get the line out where the ball places. And I complimented the Royals lineouts earlier, but it seems like they're having a bit of a rocky start as some of their lineouts have ended a bit messy. As this one goes well, as they go for the maul.
A clean line out there, then a couple of bobbles. Great catch in traffic and kept in play. Whipped back into Belmont Abbey territory. Mad scramble for the ball.
Yeah, really good job there by the Crusaders staying in bounds. That's a really hard thing to do. He gets the ball wide, and we saw there the Royals went for the player instead of the ball, which I think would really depend on which referee you have on the day, because the player was kind of bobbling the ball a bit. But usually the rule is you have to play the man that has the ball, and because the Crusader player did not actually have the ball in hand and the Royals made the tackle, that's where the penalty came from.
Ali Broderick made that play. Good hands player for the Crusaders. Scrum half. And Ali's a guy for Coach Gennaro Fessia. They rely on him for scoring this season. Same thing for Tuisla and Tesson. Watch out for those names for Belmont Abbey. Luke Rashon getting in there on the play.
Referee saw a knock-on, so it's going to be a scrum to Queens. At least that's what he's signaling.
Knock-on by the Crusaders, scrum down to Queens.
Good eye by the referee, because I didn't see the knock-on there. I think the Crusaders player just slipped through there. Was a little unlucky that he heard the whistle to come back for a scrum down to Queens.
What a historic year it's been for the ARC. A new conference for Belmont Abbey, really brand new year for them, and to have 4 teams all in the national semifinals, really something to be proud of. And we are bringing you one here from Dixon Field here in Charlotte, North Carolina. No score early on. We're about 14 minutes in. Queens dragging the ball forward here. They get it across midfield. Queens will reset to Hilton Olivier, Pretoria, North Carolina native.
And you saw a bobble and a knock on there from the Royals. And the referee's coming all the way back to that original advantage that we saw earlier. Here we're going to see the knock on from the Royals, number 10, Tomas Musi. If you saw in the scrum earlier, Queens was driving so heavily that the referee stuck out his left arm, meaning that's an advantage to Queens, which is what I was explaining earlier. So he brought it back, gave the Royals a chance to make it up the field, and then they did not advance or get an advantage from it, so he brought the penalty back as they get the ball and kick it into touch.
Both defenses here, and the forwards staying strong, and we haven't really seen anybody rip off a big run as of yet. That's kind of what you expect in a national semifinal. There's not very many creases and avenues to find.
Right, it's really hard to compete against 2 high-level teams like this, and those big moments, they come, but they come very slight. So we'll see which team kind of has the first one. But the Royals forwards are doing their job right now as they barrel forward up the field.
Flanker Shaver, the man ripped down. Belmont Abbey ball coming out here, and now carried forward. It's Zach Colson.
Yeah, I believe the referee's going to call that a forward pass or a knock-on. Either one would be fine. He's calling it a knock-on from the number 11, Jack Rice. Just trying to get that ball off before getting tackled, as we see here in the replay. Forward pass or a knock-on. Referee calls the knock-on. So Crusaders ball.
Riordan Sweet Hayden Moosley, part of the Belmont Abbey scrum. And Queens thought they had an avenue for a moment. Back come the Crusaders, stumbling through the tacklers is Belmont Abbey. Jean Tesson had that last run for Belmont Abbey. Crusaders merely kick it away here. No score as we continue to play ping pong back over the midfield.
Yeah, they like to call it kick tennis in rugby. A game for territory with these backs right now, but big pressure from the Royals, which is a big moment for them.
Louis Fahey for Belmont Abbey had his hands on it momentarily. And another restart.
Referee's just going to have a chat with the touch judges to see what the penalty here is.
Belmont Abbey enters this game 8-3 overall on the season.
Looks like the referee gave the Crusaders there an option for a couple of penalties by the Royals. So when there's multiple penalties, you can decide which one you want to take, and obviously the Crusaders chose the one which is closer to their try zone, so they're going to have a scrum down in their own half.
Royals this year 7-2-1. Their losses at the University of Tennessee and at Navy, and other than that, Queens has really blown through the schedule. Defeated St. Bonaventure in the championship game in the Atlantic Rugby Conference. Defeated Wheeling in the quarterfinals. They played that in Lexington. The Royals won that game 45-28. 2 teams that can score, but we've yet to see it here today.
Yeah, we're just seeing a little bit of bobbly passes coming from the Crusaders. They get possession of that ball, but then they're just having a hard time capitalizing on that activity.
You saw another example right there. Ball slipped out of the Crusader hand.
And we're already seeing a little bit of heat here between two teams. If you were on the other live stream, you saw that there was a massive breakout fight between these two teams. Even some of the fans got involved on the sideline. So just a classic rugby game here, back in October and here tonight.
Right, and you said you spent time in Wales, correct? Is that a normal thing in Wales?
Oh, absolutely. They definitely embrace the rugby culture of fighting and all types of scraps you get going. And I don't know if it's quite the same in America, and especially in collegiate rugby like this, but it definitely is a part of the rugby culture.
Well, we want a good, clean game here today. We want to see a clear-cut winner advance to the national championship.
Yes. And, you know, one thing that you do see in rugby is respect for the referee. So we're seeing the referee already have conversations right now between the two captains. Both of these captains will go back to their teams, kind of have a discussion on what the referee expects. That's huge in the rugby culture. You have to respect the referee. Can't talk back. You will get penalties, actually, if you do talk back.
I'll remember that the next time I play rugby. Do not talk back to the official.
No, they'll whip out a yellow card. They'll give you 10 yards back. So you want to make sure you're on your best behavior. EC,
you have to think about this too. I mean, we've already mentioned it a few times, but the familiarity between both of these teams, you've seen them, you've played them already once in the regular season. You're looking at film. How do you find any kind of advantage in this game, even one-on-one versus your opposition?
I think you have to create the space, right? A lot of people are ball watching or drifting, so you want to mark up the person that you're running at. You have to line up whoever you're running at to then create the space on the outside, hopefully draw some defenders in, force somebody to make a mistake. And what we saw here actually is Belmont Abbey put the first 3 points on the board. They had a penalty. They chose the penalty that was closer to the try line. And on that penalty, you can actually choose to go for points. And that's exactly what Abbey did. And they got the 3 points up.
And that's a strength of the Abbey with Harry Tuisala and others, the kicking game this year. And it may come down to a kick. We'll see.
And it looks like the penalty was a late tackle, which is where those 3 points came from. But I've mentioned it in past live streams. Every point matters in rugby. When you miss a kick, when you make a kick, especially in a tight game like this. And we've seen that both teams have struggled to cross that white line. So by Belmont Abbey taking those 3 points is making a statement and just kind of getting the game going a little bit more for them.
Right, points have been hard to come by here in the early going. It's rare we've seen either backs really advance deep into the other team's territory. Belmont Abbey had the one sequence. Crusaders with a catch, and they go down on their side of the midfield. Thrown back now by Fahey. Crusader tackled again. And now a drop kick from Ali Broderick. This one stays in play in the Royals' end. Shifty maneuver there on the far side of the field, getting by 1 and 2 tacklers and finally going down. Royals with a good start here. Ripped down is Caden Boyette. Two Crusaders combined to make the tackle there.
We see that referee arm come up as he gives the advantage as a breakaway happens for the Royals.
Riordan Sweet, one of the few men back for the Abbey, grabs the man by his jersey, tears him down. First real danger presented by the Royals here. Breaking to the sideline, it's John Steele. A deflection pops right up into the air and back for the Royals. And I've covered Belmont Abbey all season and watched them as well, and they are really good in their lines. It's really tough to find a crease when you're trying to attack against the Crusaders.
Yeah, I think they have a really strong fold from what I'm seeing. They're breaking down around the ruck to match numbers up. So what I was talking about earlier about finding the gaps in space. When a tackle is made, the ruck is made. And you have to, as defenders, send a few players around to the other side to match up in case ball is played on both sides. So it's a really hard thing to do, but it is a must thing to do in rugby. As we see a little stoppage in play here, big props to Belmont Abbey for that defense. Queens will start rolling, and they can't even make the gain line because of how strong the Crusaders' defense is right now.
Injury on the field. That's Grayson Denton, the 6'1", number 1 for the Crusaders, getting looked at. Seems to be all right. Belmont Abbey with a short kick off of the penalty. That's the only points today. 3-0 lead. We've played over 22 minutes here in the first half. Glad you're along with us for this National Collegiate Rugby semifinal. Jeffrey Childs along with E.C. Cantrell. Referee's been very clear, as you talked about, EC, making sure the instructions are communicated. We'll make sure this is officiated down the middle in this magnitude of a game.
Right, and it looks like it's going to be a scrum down here, either from stoppage of play. Looks like he's calling a knock on actually from Queens, so it's going to be Crusaders ball about almost on the halfway.
Seen our share of some really entertaining scrums. Test of wills here between these rivals to decide who moves on to the national championship. Past the midway point here in the first half. Racing along the sideline is Zach Colson for the Royals. Colson still within the open field. Struck down near the far sideline.
And Colson has been a really key player for the Royals team here, but unlucky in the penalty call as he goes to ground. We'll see what the referee says here. Signaled for a high tackle, assuming by the meaning of that, the referee is talking about in the ruck, maybe coming around the neck of a player. A lot can happen in that ruck. Usually high tackles come from the defending player, but sometimes penalties can also be called in that ruck. We'll see here in the replay what the referee saw. Yep, exactly. You see that Queens player kind of coming around the neck in a dangerous way, pulling that player off of him almost in a gator roll way. And the gator roll is exactly what it sounds like, how gators roll in the water. It's actually not allowed in rugby anymore.
Belmont Abbey steamrolling their way into Royal territory here. Crusaders look for an opening. Twisting down as they move the ball ahead. Fahey with a pass back. They look to the sideline, and this will bounce out of play. Watch that today too, EC, from having covered Belmont Abbey all year. They have some fast players in the fly half. If they can get the ball on the outside, dangerous speed. We've yet to see it though.
Yeah, and that was a great read by the Crusaders there. They saw that the Queens wing was actually really far up on defense and not in the backfield. So a really good eye by the fly half to kick it deep, kind of like a chip kick, cross kick. Just went out of bounds, but that's all right because Queens is so far back in their territory that if Crusaders can put big pressure on here, they can actually recover the ball.
Clean execution on the line out for the Royals.
And we're seeing the Royals try and attempt to go for mauls every time in their line out over the past ones, but the Crusaders are stepping back, not engaging with the maul. You actually have to engage to continue to drive, which is why the Royals are going straight to ground on that line out.
You can't like my sister!
It's going to be a line out to the Crusaders.
Ball bobbled on the line out.
Yeah, that's going to be a knock on there from Belmont Abbey, which is going to result in a scrum down towards the Royals, still deep in their own territory. Still about 15 minutes left in this half to make it down the field and put points on the board.
You are right on top of it. You know exactly what's going on, and I feel like you maybe have played the sport before.
Yeah.
Again, these scrums, it's a Queen advantage by far. Belmont Abbey holding their own here as the pile moves.
Yep, so it's going to be a penalty towards or for Queens as the scrum was just turning a little bit. As you see some of those fans for Belmont Abbey showing out to support down at the Queens University field.
It was a big point of emphasis at Belmont Abbey all week. They were shipping people here into Charlotte, and I'm sure the Crusaders are well represented. You couldn't ask for more, though. You see two rivals playing in a game like this and everything on the line. And it's an old cliche, but you're leaving it all out there.
And in such a low-scoring game right now, it's very rare that you see that in this league. I feel like every game is kind of on your toes and almost 20 points up in the first half.
Well, that bounces in. Belmont Abbey scoops it up and flips it across. Going in for the try. It's Joaquin Odone, and the Crusaders strike first blood.
That's fantastic rugby there, exactly what you want to see, and the exact kind of impact the Crusaders want to put on this Royals team. We're going to see here on the replay the fantastic kick from Belmont Abbey. Nobody in the backfield except the number 9 chasing back. You see the 15 with the lucky little kick and pick up and just a perfect pass off to his teammate to dot it down over the white line.
Well, sometimes that works at this point in the year, right?
And with all the kicking that we've seen in this match, that's the entire point, is to find a fault in that match. We said kick tennis earlier. You go back and forth until somebody makes a mistake, and we saw the Royals make a mistake there.
Here's fly half and kicker Harry Tuisala for the conversion. And it's good. 10-0 lead for Belmont Abbey here at Queens in the national semifinal.
And similar start last time, although a bit slower. We see the Crusaders kind of pull out a little bit stronger and more impactful with their scoring and with their points. The last game, Queens was down 19-14 deep into the first half, but then actually came back and won the game. So we'll see if Belmont Abbey can hold on to the lead or if something similar will happen.
Right, it's either Belmont Abbey learns the lesson from last time or we have a repeat performance by the Royals. Queens scored 33 straight points in the second half to pull away in the meeting in the regular season. See if history repeats itself.
It must have been a really, really good halftime speech.
I guess. That'll motivate you. Now the Royals to begin again. Ball bobbled again, and the Crusaders pull it forward. A flip to the left side for Harry Tuisala, and Harry Tuisala is in.
And it's called back.
And right on cue.
Yep. So I believe the referee blew his whistle from the stands. You heard the crowd cheer really loud, so you probably didn't hear the whistle. The referee actually brought it back for that knock-on. As a Crusader, I bet that is extremely frustrating as you get that breakaway. As I was explaining earlier, you have that advantage to continue to play, but as soon as the referee blows the whistle, you have to come back to that penalty. So no try. It's going to be a scrum down to the Crusaders.
It hurts from the Belmont Abbey perspective, but if you're Belmont Abbey, you're feeling really good about this. Some creative kicking has led to their scoring.
And they're forcing those mistakes on the Royals. They're feeling a bit flustered. As they actually turn the ball over, I believe the ball came out of the tunnel, which is exactly what the referee called there. When you have a scrum down, you place that ball in through the tunnel, and if it comes right back out that way, you get a little bit of a reset as we see that ball come out. The ball has to go through the scrum one way, out the back of the other.
Yeah, was kind of off to the side.
Right. Exactly like it sounds, just straight out the tunnel. We have that tunnel in a line out, and we also have it in a scrum.
See the temperature continuing to drop there at Levine Field. With all this on the line, you can see the breath of the players. Temperature dipping down below the 40s here tonight.
Quit warning them.
10-0 Belmont Abbey here over the Royals in the first half, the 32nd minute. And again, no real game-breaking runs by either team. There's been very little separation offensively, but Belmont Abbey capitalizing on mistakes.
Yeah, and that's what you see in these high-level games is really good rugby, where it's really hard to find those gaps and force those mistakes, and the Crusaders have definitely done a better job than Queens.
Here's Harry Tuisla. He can move, zigzagging by a couple of Royals. Gets some help from his friends as the Crusaders continue here. Belmont Abbey advances forward, a little bunched up there on the passing. Low pass gathered in by Ali Fussell, and then it's out of play.
A few things happened there. First we had the knock on, then we had the ball go straight out of bounds. We're gonna go back to the first penalty or the first mistake, which was the knock on by the Crusaders. So it's going to be a scrum down to Queens a little bit here before the half.
That begs the question of the Royals too. Can they establish more possession off of the scrums and then work it down the field a little bit? That's not something we've seen them been able to execute so far.
They haven't been able to manipulate that defense to create those gaps in space and in play. I think they're drifting a little bit on their play, but they've also done a good job of getting to the edge, but then Belmont Abbey's defense is just stopping them in their tracks once they get that momentum going. And the Royals are going to keep that ball in as long as they can, as they're just dominating this scrum against the Crusaders as they get the advantage from the referee.
Immediate tackle by the Crusaders.
Yeah, really good defensive play there from the Crusaders. You saw a good tackle and a good jackal attempt. But like I mentioned, Royals had the advantage there, so they're going to come back to the penalty, and it's going to be their possession.
It seems like this first half, really, it's been a succession of scrums and kickoffs. It's just been one after the other.
Yeah, sometimes that happens in high-level stake games here. You play a lot of slow, structured rugby with few moments of momentum, which is what you train for. You know, you have your structured play, you have plans, but then you also have free play, and it's extremely important that you have both of those because they work together to set you up for success.
Royals trying to dig out of this hole, EC. Who are some guys you're hoping to see have an impact here as you've watched them all season?
I've mentioned Zach Colson before, the fullback. He's a really key player to this team, very, very shifty, so I think he could dance his way into the try zone. As we see the ball get passed out to the edge, just missed by Zach Colson. I've also seen Roan Shaver, really, really strong forward and very impactful player for this Royals side.
He's the number one, the flanker for Queens. Queens will send another one away. This one doesn't stay in bounds.
Yeah, Roan, he's a funny one because he can kind of play any position in the forward pack. His original position is flanker, but he's so good at his rugby job and rugby position that they actually have him propping today. So he's one of the strongest guys on the field. I'd like to see him have a breakaway moment and dot it down for the Royals.
Clean throw in to Van de Kerk. Ball bounced back to midfield. Queens able to get a handle on it and then dropped immediately. Strong play by Jean Tesson. Queens now venturing into Belmont Abbey territory, sidestepping one tackle, twisting down and moving forward, Gideon Wessels. Queens coming perilously close to the try line. Belmont Abbey meeting them immediately, forming that wall.
And we're finally seeing the Royals here make their way down the field slowly but surely, getting those little bit of gains, having positive carries, not making a mistake.
A lifting tackle by the Crusaders, and the Royals push it ahead right into the try line, diving in for the try. John Steele leaping in, and Queens is on the board. It's 10-5.
That's an absolutely perfect rugby try there. You had the entire team working for it. You know, in these big high-stake games, you're not going to have those big breakaway highlight tries. You have teams that work together, as we see here in the replay. I was just mentioning Zach Colson. Big contact, actually gets the ball away to the number 12, John Steele, as he dots it down and runs a really great line on the inside.
And the Royals finally signs of life offensively, and like you said, total team effort on the try, and Steele with the punctuation finishing it off.
Yeah, and I think the Royals have done a really good job this season of having more breakaways. Some of the players have even said that they felt more speed and more dominance in those carries, but we weren't seeing that for the first 35 minutes of this match. So I think they really adjusted well there and came together as a team. And team chemistry is a super big factor in this rugby game, in every rugby game.
And the conversion good. It's a 3-point advantage for Belmont Abbey in the national semifinals as we tick down, nearing the end of the first half. And this one's had a little bit of everything. And a couple of breakaway runs late. Good deliberate offense in the scrums by both teams, and then the Belmont Abbey kicking has really given them the edge.
Yeah, and both sides have really waited for their moment to shine, and that's what you kind of have to do in rugby matches. Not every moment is going to be, like I said, that highlight reel. So they've waited, both teams, really well. It's been a really great match so far. We'll see how this close match can continue on in the rest of this first half into the second half.
And I really love to see the clashing of those colors, the Queen City rivals, Queens and Belmont Abbey. And before Queens elevated, obviously, to Division I, they were Division II. Belmont Abbey played them in lacrosse competitively and other sports. And so it's special to see the two schools lock horns here again with everything on the line.
Yeah, the two North Carolina teams going at it is a big matchup for tonight.
Belmont Abbey ducking down and going forward for some simple field position. Swing it right now to Jean Tesson. Belmont Abbey running it forward here.
So we're going to have a maul here, which means the ball is still driving forward, and you have at least one player binding on, pushing forward without a tackle being made. So the tackle isn't made until a body part touches the ground, like a knee or an elbow. They're actually holding the player up, continuing to drive. As the referee saw a penalty here, we'll see what he calls. Talking to the Belmont Abbey side, so I believe it's going to be a scrum down to the Royals. Yeah, and that's going to be the half there. It was a scrum down to the Royals, but that's time. So because of the penalty, it's going to be going into the second half now.
At the end of the first half here at Dixon Field at the Queens University campus, national semifinal. It's Belmont Abbey 10, Queens 7 as we hit the halftime break. Queens with a late push. They get on the board with a try. Just a 3-point game at halftime.
Yeah, I think both teams did a fabulous job of staying in the fight. They played their structure, how they want to play. We saw a ton of kicking going on, and both teams waited patiently for their opportunity to score. Now it's just who kind of pulls ahead here. We have Queens really dominant in their carries, and Belmont Abbey really dominant in the style that they play on. They just have to capitalize on the mistakes they're making, and Queens just has to capitalize on those moments where they can score and they can make opportunity.
All right. 10-7, Belmont Abbey with the lead over the Queens Royals. We'll take a break now. It's the national semifinal here for NCR.
Consistency on 3. 1, 2,
In a sport of power and precision, you need a powerful and precise camera. Analyze your game. Build your team. Grow together.
Ready, up.
Video captures moments. A powerful camera for a powerful sport.
Rugby!
Hello and welcome back to the College Rugby Show. The fall season is upon us. We have a brand new division, now 4 men's divisions, 4 women's divisions. We've had that in 7s. We're going to be coming to you once every other week here in this video podcast form.
I'm excited for a season of telling college rugby's best stories.
We deserve to be here. We're going to keep, representing.
That was, to me, the biggest testament for the future of the game.
Before a city turns to you for answers. Before the stories that need telling are told. And our nation's biggest companies look to you to make their next big move. Whenever, however, you're called upon to step up, Queens will prepare you to do just that. Because here, Royals rise.
In a sport of power and precision, you need a powerful and precise camera. Analyze your game. Build your team. Grow together.
Ready? Up.
Video captures moments. A powerful camera for a powerful sport.
Rugby! Hello and welcome back to the College Rugby Show. The fall season is upon us. We have a brand new division, now 4 men's divisions, 4 women's divisions. We've had that in 7s. We're going to be coming to you once every other week here in this video podcast form.
I'm excited for a season of telling college rugby's best stories.
We deserve to be here. We're going to keep, representing.
That was, to me, the biggest testament for the future of the game.
Welcome back here to Dixon Field in Charlotte, North Carolina. Jeffrey Childs along with E.C. Cantrell. And that was kind of a tale of two halves, E.C., at the beginning. And then what we saw at the end, Queens came alive offensively. They get that late try, and now it's a tight one, more than we saw in the beginning.
Yeah, I think it was really important for Queens there to get those points on the board. You can't and don't want to go into the second half with 0 points on the board. So now it's only a 3-point game. Every point matters in this match, and this is for the final. We actually got word that St. Bonnie's is advanced to the final in Houston, so whoever wins this game is playing St. Bonnie's in Houston.
And we saw the Queens offense. You kind of touched on a few strengths for the Crusaders versus the Royals. Belmont Abbey a little bit more deliberate style, and then Queens kind of picked up their pace, and they were able to break out in some big runs there near the end of the half.
Yeah, I think Queens really learned in that first half that they had to work together if they wanted to put points on the board. Usually they have a lot of breakthrough players, but this time it was all 15 players on the field who mattered in that moment.
All right, and we're underway here. Second half of action. Glad you're with us here. This national semifinal, Division I in the National Collegiate Rugby. It's the Belmont Abbey Crusaders 10, the Queens Royals 7.
Going to be a scrum down here to the Royals, as there was a little bit of a mishap from the Crusaders on that kickoff.
And EC, what are you hoping to see here by Queens? Did Belmont Abbey kind of take them out of their normal formula and it made them adjust a little bit, as you would expect? And what do you expect here from Queens in half number 2?
I think we just saw Queens not really expect as much dominance from Belmont Abbey as they did. We saw how strong the Crusaders' defense was, and we saw how often they capitalized on those Queens mistakes. We had a few moments where the Royals were missing a player in the backfield, whether it was the wing or the fullback. It's really important for those back 3 players to work together, and it's easy to make a mistake, and the Crusaders really capitalized on that space where you've mentioned they've had strong kicking, just noticing space, noticing territory.
And you expect these games of the postseason to be tight affairs, and that's what this is, but it's really atypical for this league. It's a high-scoring league, and that's exactly the opposite of what we have here.
Yeah, they're 2 really, really strong teams, and we're seeing their strengths and weaknesses in both. Queens is just looking up the field there with a little bit of a grubber kick straight to touch. It's going to be the Crusaders' ball, but putting them a little bit on the back end in their own territory.
Neither team really has been able to get any kind of traction in breaking off the big runs. We saw that one by Queens, and then they punctuated that with the try. That's kind of Belmont Abbey's game as I've covered them this year too. They break off the big play. It's just nowhere to be had so far.
And I think that has a lot to do with momentum. When one team gets momentum, it's really hard to stop that avalanche from rolling. So we saw it there in the last 3 minutes with the Royals. They were finally barreling through. And we're going to come back to the replay here. You see that line-out throw from the Crusaders. Went a little bit to the left, focusing on the Crusaders' ball. The ball has to go straight through the channel, giving both teams the opportunity to compete for that ball in the air. The advantage from the line-out comes from the moves that they choose to do, but that ball coming in on the throw has to be directly down the channel that the referee creates.
Queens, a regular participant in the national tournament, getting to the semifinals in the championship game. Belmont Abbey, kind of the new kid on the block. The upstarts with a 10-0 lead in the first half. Queens answered. I think we're in store for some good rugby here.
Yeah, you know, we had the same exact penalty here in the first half, just flipped on which team it was called on. We saw the Belmont Abbey player diving on the Queens player before he had possession of the ball. Referee's going to come back to that first penalty we saw in the scrum where Royals were just driving through the Belmont Abbey scrum, which is a penalty when you go a certain distance as they kick to touch. So it'll be the Royals line out.
Yeah, if you're Gennaro Fessia and the Crusaders, you have to counteract how dominant Queens has been in the scrums. How would one go about doing that? I mean, Belmont Abbey is strength for strength, has been able to match pound for pound what Queens has done, but Queens, I think, strategically and then the physical prowess been able to drive it forward.
Yeah, it's really all about the technique in a scrum. You can have the strength and power. Obviously, that helps for such a massive part of the game, but you have to know the ins and outs of the scrum. And that's what I was saying with Coach E from the Royals. He has that knowledge with his experience in pro rugby, so I think the boys should be really grateful for his strong coaching.
Belmont Abbey got started a little too early there. And from the Crusaders side, we've seen some good runs by Ali Fussell for Belmont Abbey, number 13. But nothing really from Kayron Young, who's been a big player for Belmont Abbey this year. He's been a little quiet, but again, both sides really have been quiet offensively.
You know, it can be really hard to get those breakout moments that you're used to, and it really forces you to go back to your training and think about those captain runs, those team runs of what works and what doesn't work, and really staying patient in such a high-paced game. You know, they may be contradictory words, but it's important to stay patient in rugby, to wait for that moment where you can really break through.
See both sides kind of a little bit of gamesmanship and the throw-ins, and some would think a small part of the game, but you have to execute these cleanly, and that establishes possession and a lot.
Yeah, and we just saw here in a defensive lineout for the Crusaders, they stole the ball. So you do have the opportunity to compete in those lineouts as they get a huge advantage here making their way down the field.
Nice catch on the sideline. Belmont Abbey still upright here, weaving through Royals. Belmont Abbey from the backside again. There's K-Ron Young, almost breaks a tackle with his dreads flowing behind him.
Referee's just going to come back to a penalty here. Saw something, gave the Crusaders an advantage. As you said, K-Ron got a few steps forward but didn't quite make the gain line that the referee wanted. So as the referee signals here, the Queens player was not rolling away. So when that tackle is made, as soon as the tackler makes the tackle, they have to get out of the way of the ruck so that competition can be fair and
continue.
Continue and nobody gets blocked for the gameplay.
Well, if you like a defensive battle, you're in the right place, because that's exactly what we're getting here. A lot of set pieces and a lot of moving the chess pieces back and forth to try to figure out what's the best advantage.
Yeah, and I think both teams have done a fabulous job of staying connected in their defensive line. You can't show breaks in that line. You can't have one person shoot up and one person stay back. Every team has stayed together.
And the Crusaders break free. Big run and a smashing pass comes to the right. Belmont Abbey into the try line.
Just as I was talking about that strong defensive line, the Crusaders found the gap, strong carry. We saw a gap in the defensive line from the Royals. The number 12 breaking through.
That's Gene Tesson. He got that unique headgear, and I mentioned his speed, and he showed off, made himself available, and then he took it to the try line.
And we saw there that the Crusader ran a dummy line, kind of manipulating that defender, that Royals defender, to pick the wrong person. Here we have him drawing the defender in, giving that ball off, and just continuing with a strong carry, powering through to dot it over the white line to make a strong statement into the second half.
Well, Queens had the momentum ending half number one, and then we talked about Belmont Abbey's MO this year has been the big breaking runs. They get one there for 5, and now the conversion. Wide left.
Still a 2-score game as it's 8-point differential. There we go. But every point matters here in the game, and so those missed points could be really big for the Crusaders. But really, really strong statement there from Belmont Abbey. Queens has to respond really strong if they want to stay in this match and react to that momentum and kind of create their own momentum.
Queens receives. Fake pass from Zach Colson. Colson, one of those players, ECU kept your eye on.
Yeah, I think he's been waiting for his moment this game to help the Queens Royals break their way down the field as they get a bit of momentum. As a penalty was called there for the Royals. We'll see what the referee signals. Forward pass from the Royals. We saw they just wanted to continue that gameplay and not take the tackle. So they kind of forced the pass, forced the offload, and the ball went forward instead of backwards. So Crusaders scrum down.
Past the 50th minute here, and Belmont Abbey has seized hold of the momentum now. The Queens firing back immediately.
Just a bit of struggle there from both teams on the bind. Referee usually gives them a second chance to get it right.
43 degrees in Charlotte right now, and it is December weather here. That could also account for the low scoring in addition to being a postseason meeting. See the breath rising by both of these teams in the midst of the struggle. Belmont Abbey with a bad pass going backwards. Upended tackle from Tomas Musi. Crusaders looking for an opening. Tugged down by the shorts goes the Crusader. High kick flying to midfield. There's Colson. A looping pass. Bounced back into the hands of Seth Valance. Valance, it's knocked on by Jack Rice.
Definitely going to come back to that penalty. Referee saw a late hit there, tackling the person without the ball really late. We saw just a classic rugby play with a 2-on-1. It was perfect rugby there. We had 2 attackers, 1 defender here. He draws the defender in, gives the ball with a late hit, no wrap. We'll see what the referee calls here, but it's going to be a penalty for that.
Substitution made by Queens.
The last time these two teams met, like I said, there was a big brawl, and we saw some yellow cards fly up. We can hear from the crowd that some of those fans wanted to see that yellow card come back out, but I like the decision here from the referee to kind of chat with his touch judge about what the touch judge also saw, and he does immediately go to reach for that yellow card. So Belmont Abbey will be down 1 player, 14 players to 15. We'll see if the Royals can capitalize here.
We talk about a game being a story, right? In pivotal moments, this could be that moment for the Royals. Offensive struggle for them. They were really both teams. The Queens got their try late.
Yeah, with the Royals being down here, they have an extra person on the field now, so there's going to be a gap somewhere on the field. It's just really important for them to find that space. And on the flip side, you have Belmont Abbey that has to close that space and work together with the 14 men.
This is where all that preseason work you did right in August, all the planning and strategizing, knowing where to be and when, critical in a game like this.
Yeah, there's so many elements that goes into this sport, and you really have to work on every single piece because you never know what's going to happen come game day.
Queens has continued to drive, and that scrum is owning it in. They're in. Yeah, running over the Crusaders.
Yeah, we saw, as I was talking earlier, about the Queens maul. They've been really strong in their lineouts and mauling through defenders. We saw the Crusaders kind of try and back off in this maul, as we see in the replay here. But Queens actually engages 1 player, drives forward, and then breaks through and just dots it over into the try line, over the try line. So try there for Queens, really smart rugby play.
That scrum for the Royals taking center stage, and ECU called it. It's been the difference here. They've just gone back to the well, and it's paid off.
Yeah, and it can be a little confusing, those maul rules in lineout. They have to engage with the defending lineout, and as soon as any part of your body touches them, then you can just continue to barrel through. And we actually saw the collapse of it, but we saw that ball carrier stay on his feet, so he is free to go and run as far as he wants to, and he ran right into the try zone. So smart play by the Royals.
Queens, a conversion, and wide right, just going wide of the iron, and it remains a 3-point Belmont Abbey lead.
And a big 3 points. If Queens can get a penalty and kick for the 3 points, it would be a tied game. So those 2 points missed on the conversion could be big for the Royals. we're seeing a bit of kick tennis here between these two teams to see, maybe which team can make a mistake or which team can capitalize on an opportunity. Still going as they go for a little bit shorter kick from Belmont Abbey.
And the Crusaders take it on a hop. Still plowing forward and evading the tackle as they bear into Queens territory. Samuel Patch.
So there we have what's called a mark. He's behind the 22-yard line, the Queens player. He raised his hand as he caught that ball, landed on the ground. He can kick anywhere behind that 22-yard line for territory, short distance, as he kicks far for the Crusaders to regather possession.
Belmont Abbey with a nice run back. Looking for space along the sideline. Picked up, and the Crusaders just simply boot it off of the Royal player.
Yeah, there we saw a big game of kick tennis going on. Sometimes it can be about ego for these players, just which team can make a mistake or which team chooses to kind of run first and quit the kicking game. It is a strategy in these rugby games, and Belmont Abbey won in that situation.
It must be more a postseason likelihood as well, because I can't recall, at least in the Belmont Abbey home games this year, I've never seen this many kicks.
Yeah, you just have to try and find different ways to score in the game and create that space and have somebody make a mistake or create more options on the field. So kicking can be one of those ways.
Swallowed into the pile goes Belmont Abbey's Bryce Hogan. Patch turns it back right away. Nicholas Flood had it for a moment for Belmont Abbey.
We had a knock on from the Crusaders there. They have advantage. Referee's going to let the Royals play it out. Yeah, referee's going to come back to that advantage there. We'll see what he calls as. Yep. So this penalty is going to be offsides for the Crusaders. Offsides, you have to take a step back behind the foot of the ruck. So that tackler laying on the floor, you have to be behind him, and you can't go until that ball in the ruck is passed. So we saw the Crusaders just offsides there, resulting in a Queens penalty.
A test of wills this one has been, as they play the mind games, the psychology here, possessions back and forth, nobody wanting to slip up.
Yeah. And we have a new thrower coming in here for Queens, Joshua Schwartz. And keep in mind that the Crusaders are still down one man. So the yellow card will last 10 minutes. Not sure how much time is left on that yellow card. But Queens gets advantage here as they break through this Crusaders defense.
Queens advancing man on man, physicality from Seth Valance. Quick turn back by Tomas Musi. Queens moves it onto the outside. Belmont Abbey saying it's their ball.
Yeah, it looks like the Royals had an advantage there, so even though they thought they had a penalty, referee's going to come back to the advantage here. Queens takes another line out with a really, really strong kick to touch here. They're about on the 5-meter line, and we'll see if they do a similar situation with their maul decision, and we'll see how Belmont Abbey responds if they choose to do it. Throughout the whole game, they've decided to not engage and kind of let the Royals just dive straight to the ground, but it didn't work out well for them in their favor a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we saw that exact same play. Queens punches in the try, just ran over the Belmont Abbey scrums.
And you see that number 5 for the Royals behind the line out. That's that extra person you can put in to kind of grab that ball in the maul as the ball comes down to drive forward.
There they go with it again. And Queens right there. It's very close. Queens is in. And the Royals punch in another try. They've got their first lead of the evening at the 60th minute mark, 17-15 Royals.
And the Royals are just doing the simple rugby strategy, which is using your strengths, right? They know their line out is strong, they know their forwards are dominant, and that their maul attack works. And even though they were short of that try line, you can see the Queens Royals continuing to pick and go. You had one, you had another, and then they dotted over. So now Queens will pull ahead with the lead.
This to see if it's a 3-point lead or more than that. Right down the middle. Excuse me, a 4-point lead. Queens 19-15 here in the second half. Just under 20 minutes left to decide which of these teams will advance to the national championship. Belmont Abbey's been in the pole position most of the day, but Queens surging back here. A couple of tries. Conversion good, 19-15 lead. That maul that EC talked about serving the Royals well.
Yeah, and we saw Belmont Abbey take a certain approach on defending that maul, and it didn't work on one of the tries, so they had to adjust, and they couldn't adjust enough. I think that'll be the Royals' strategy, is to get down the field and get a line out and just continue to do that until the game is over. And we come back to this replay for a penalty. See what the referee calls here. Yep, so it'll be a penalty to the Royals. As you saw there, the Crusaders player was playing the 9, so you can't tackle the 9 straight away. You have to clear out the entire ruck before going for that ball or going for that player, which didn't happen, which is why they got the penalty and kick to touch.
You see, if you're Gennaro Fessia, the head coach for Belmont Abbey, what's your best way to counteract that quick line out in the maul? How do you defend that here and then following that, get your guys into best position and advance down the field?
I think rather than taking the approach of disengaging from the maul and competing in the air for the ball, I think the players should expect what's coming, get ready to engage, and get ready to hit strong instead of, backing off and taking that approach.
Belmont Abbey led 10-0 in the first half. Jean Tesson, a try for the Crusaders. And then Queens, they've had their moment here in the second half. Dietrichson and then Keenan Camp with a good conversion to make it 19-15 Queens. Now it's the Crusaders again. Through their number 8, blasting through a couple of Queens players. Belmont Abbey getting to the edge. That's their forte. Slicing through. Almost dangerously a forward pass, but it was a pass to oneself, and so no forward pass.
Pick it back up.
Right. Belmont Abbey will whip it back now to Flood. Pass deflected behind the Crusaders. It's Lugavitsky. Queens swarms the play defensively.
good job by Queens there to react on defense. You know, it was very scrambling there where they had to be all over the field, and they did a really good job of covering defensively when Belmont Abbey had numbers wide. We saw 4-on-2 where you have 4 attackers and 2 defenders, and they really didn't let Belmont Abbey get all the way into the tri-zone. While they made momentum, they did get lucky and stopped them short as the referee brings it back for a penalty here. Looks like Crusaders are going to kick to touch for the line out.
Taking a page out of Queen's book there. They just boot it deep and then see what they can get off the line outs.
Yeah, and we haven't seen very many offensive lineouts from the Crusaders. We've seen a lot of offensive lineouts from the Royals, but have really only seen them react defensively where they've had one stolen lineout, but here we'll see what they do when it's time to capitalize as the Royals steal it for really big territory and possession. And finally, we're seeing the Crusaders here react to that maul as they really just stop the Royals there from driving anywhere.
Punishing hit by Belmont Abbey deep in Queens territory. Somewhere there underneath the pile.
Yeah, they're just aiming for a box kick here as they switch it up and see space wide.
Queens is just continuing to churn the legs. Power through the Belmont Abbey resistance.
As we see that Belmont Abbey player there not rolling away, slowing down the pace of the game. We'll see if the referee gave advantage for that.
Big gain here for Queens. Diving head first as they near midfield. Ooh, near disaster there for the Royals. They were able to get it back.
Yeah, almost got it back, but looks like the ball went forward, which will be a knock on, so Crusaders will get the ball back again in a scrum down. But good reaction and good decision from the Royals there to not kick the ball away and get down the field. But as we see there, just a low pass from the scrum half, a little bit too hard to catch, bobbled and knocked forward. So unlucky there.
Keep talking to
I believe the yellow card is coming back on, if I'm correct. We're seeing signals there from the referee and some of the coaches, which means it'll be 15 players on 15 players once again.
Even it up here. Even if Belmont Abbey find a way to win some of these scrums and kind of take the scrum momentum away from Queens, that would be a big boost for the Crusaders. Struggled in that area against the Queens bigger and, as far as today, more physical scrum.
And that's exactly what they do. They actually get the penalty for a bind penalty. So Crusaders take the kick. And it goes straight out the back, so we'll see what the referee calls here.
Second half dominated by Queens. Outscored Belmont Abbey. Belmont Abbey just the one try here in half number 2.
Yeah. So because that ball got kicked straight out the back of the try zone, it's going to be a drop 22 for the Royals, so they can drop kick it anywhere behind the 22-yard line and compete with it, which is exactly what they do as the Crusaders take away the ball.
Let's go!
So big defensive play there as the Crusaders had possession of the ball off that drop kick. Big defensive hit straight into touch from the player. So it will be Royals line out in their own half.
Belmont Abbey's number 7, Riordan Sweetie, came up limping there. He's a guy that has some scoring ability. That would be a loss for the Crusaders.
And we haven't seen very many changes in this game so far for both sides. We've seen a few players come in for the front row of Queens, but a lot of players have been on the pitch for the full game. So now the last 10 minutes are coming up. That's when you start to see some changes getting made.
Queens has turned the tables on Belmont Abbey here in the second half. They've been the better of the two teams defensively. And the Crusaders have not been able to build any kind of traction.
And you see those Crusaders finally respond to the Queens Maul by engaging and actively pushing, similar to a scrum, just in live play. And in that maul, you can continue to pass the ball back, having those players in front of you pushing forward. The only player that can get tackled is the ball carrier. In that moment, you saw he was at the front of the maul, so he can finally get tackled.
Queens a short kick. Belmont Abbey swivel it right back to the Royals.
Looks like the Crusaders' ball bounces into touch before the 22-yard line, so it won't be a 50-22, which would have been the Crusaders' ball, unless the referee sees something different. Yeah, so Royals' ball here, line out, as referee takes some time off to chat with some of the players about something he doesn't like to see. And like I mentioned earlier, rugby culture is huge on the referee and respect, so he can stop at any time, pause the time, and talk with the captains to then talk with their team to see what he wants to see in the rugby match if both teams aren't really listening or staying disciplined.
A cold night at Dixon Field here at Queen's University. These two rivals slugging it out. The winner advances to the national championship game. And even with the cold weather tonight, EC, it has not dampened the enthusiasm of either of these teams. Low scoring as far as the two of these teams are concerned, but it hasn't lacked for entertainment at all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a really tough fight for both teams, and both teams are staying in it to the absolute end. There's about 9 minutes left as the Crusaders make it down the field.
Crusaders power over a Royal. Gene Tesson again. He's been the Belmont Abbey's best player tonight offensively. Belmont Abbey knocking on the door here.
Big defensive ruck there from Queens. As referee's just going to call time there because there's an injury. Usually in rugby you don't see the referee stop for injury unless it's in the way of play to prevent further injury. So because that player's right next to the ruck, he's going to take some time off to make sure he's okay.
Well, recapping, this one's had a little bit of everything. It was 10-0 Belmont Abbey to start. Shades of the game the two teams played in the regular season. In that one, Queens came back here on their home turf, 33 unanswered points to get the victory. Of course, Queens won the regular season title in the ARC, but now the second time around, second meeting between these two teams, Queens has followed the script of the first game, and their offense has come alive in the second half.
Yeah, and they've been able to hold on to this lead for a while now, but we've seen in the last 10 minutes that the Crusaders have had possession of the ball in their in the half that they are trying to score in. And even when the Royals have the ball, they're on the wrong side of the field since those mauls happened, and they've got those points on the board. So if they want to win this game, they've just got to keep it exactly how it is and not let the Crusaders roll over them in this scrum down. The referee has an issue here with the way that the Crusaders front row is binding on, so he's going to give him one more chance to get it right. If not, it'll be a penalty.
Belmont Abbey clean exit of the scrum. Zip pass back, and Belmont Abbey will pick it up again. They try the left sideline. Crusaders tumbling toward the try line here, Queens. Under 8 minutes to play in regulation. Winner advances to the national championship.
And this is the first jackal that we've seen all game. We're going to see it here on the replay as the Crusaders attacker goes in for this hit. He goes down to the ground, and you'll see the Royals player come in to steal this ball in the ruck. That's called a jackal or a poach in rugby. See him just go in with his hands to pull on that ball. As the ball carrier, once you are tackled, you cannot hold on to that ball. So you have to stay in strong support with your attacking players. Otherwise, the defense can come in and steal that ball, which is exactly what we just saw. And after that penalty, Queens kick to touch, so it's going to be their ball at another line out, assuming they will maul with that extra player in the back of the line out that we see right now.
Queens owning the Crusaders in the maul. Belmont Abbey claiming it's their possession. It is still with Queens.
Yeah, and because the referee didn't call that play a poach because the Crusaders player went straight to his hands. You have to stay on your feet when going for that jackal attempt.
Belmont Abbey breaking free. They have it on the near sideline. K'Ron Young there. Going head first into the pile. Looks like that's Tesson. Samuel Patch.
Knock on from the Crusaders, recovered by the Royals with an advantage from the referee.
Queens switches momentum right back here. Rivalry game in the national semifinals. Queens breaks free. They have it on the right side. Tripped up at midfield, and the ball comes out. Queens jumps on it. The closest these two rivals have played all time. Queens leads the series here in 15s 3-0. Never lost to the Crusaders, and Queens typically in those games has blown it open in the second half, but this is, with everything on the line, a close one here.
And not 100% sure what the referee saw there for the penalty, but he made the call, believes it's a scrum down to the Crusaders. We can see now after that big action play that both teams are getting a little bit tired into this 80-minute match. There's only 5 minutes left, and Crusaders will have the ball. With that signal there that he just did, I believe he called a knock-on. With the replay, we didn't really see. We saw the ball go backwards, but you know, it can be difficult to tell on field what's actually happening in a rugby match, especially without the ability to go see it on screen again. You kind of have to make those decisions in time.
Pivotal scrums at this point.
Another issue with the scrum here, going to give them another chance. You can see the referee talking to both the front rows, Crusaders and Royals. If they can't get this spine right, one of the teams will get a penalty. Huge scrum from the Royals as they turn the ball over and get the advantage.
Royals finally gang tackled at midfield. Huge swing in momentum. The ball filtered back to the Royals, and now they're on the attack. Booted off the foot of John Steele. He has a try in this game for Queens. Referee blows his whistle.
Saw something he didn't like there. It's going to be a penalty down to the Royals.
Queens by 4. Time elapsing here. The winner advances to the national championship.
And all Queens wants to do here is maintain possession of this ball. There's only about 2 minutes left in this game. They kick to touch. They need to regain the possession of the ball and hold on to it or score, especially really if they want to win this game.
Belmont Abbey head coach Gennaro Fessia communicating some last-minute instructions.
And that's a big difference we see from other countries to coaching in America. We have coaches on the sideline actively coaching these kids. Most other places really stand off and let the kids or let these players make their own decisions on the field. So it's kind of an American touch to the rugby side of the game.
So much pressure to execute cleanly here on both sides.
And we saw Queens lose possession there. It's a big kick from the penalty. It'll be a line out on the halfway to the Crusaders. And just as I was saying for the Royals, it's extremely important here for the Crusaders to maintain possession of the ball if they want to score points in this game. If they make a mistake here, it could be their last opportunity.
Very few left here for Belmont Abbey. Clean on the throw-in. Belmont Abbey gets a man through, breaking past one tackler and pulling Royals into their territory.
Crusaders have an advantage.
Tesson.
Knocked on by the Crusaders, but penalty from the referee. Crusaders are going to have a quick tap or line out from the referee's mark as they take the line out and kick it up the field.
.40 seconds or so remaining. Again, in rugby, the referee keeps time on the field.
And the game will continue to play if the action is going on the field. If the ball goes out of bounds when time is up or there's another penalty, then the game will stop.
Belmont Abbey just keeps it in play. Crusaders, one last gasp here. Kayron Young keeps going here. Kayron Young finally going down.
Referee had a penalty earlier, so the Crusaders had an advantage. Queens is going to have to get back 10 yards. They may choose to go for a quick tap here or the line out. We'll see what the Crusaders decide to do.
Belmont Abbey down by 4. A kick does not help them here.
They have to score. As they take the quick tap into open play.
Ali Broderick. Crusaders still moving the pile. On the outside, nowhere to go. Belmont Abbey dropped it on the transfer.
Knock on from the Crusaders. Our time says 80 minutes, but the referee's time could say something different. He takes the scrum. It'll be Queens ball. If the referee's time is up, Queens can kick it straight out of bounds and they'll win the game. If the referee still has more time on his watch, the game will continue to play.
This has been everything we've hoped for in this one. Well, maybe other than scoring, but it has been all kinds of strategy between these two, gamesmanship, timely scoring. It's had it all.
And that's what you want to see in these high-stake games is good rugby. And both of these teams have done a fantastic job of representing who they are as clubs, playing their structure, playing the way that they want to play. And it's come down to the last minute of the game.
Belmont Abbey desperately hoping for a change of possession here. Queens has it. Flip it back. They will dive forward.
Penalty there in favor of the Queens team. We saw some of those Crusaders kind of coming around the ruck, trying to mess up the scrum half. So it's going to be a penalty to the Royals as things start to get a little bit heated like we saw in last game.
Yeah, we want to have a clean ending to this game. Sometimes tempers can flare.
Yeah. You know, it's what these men work for their entire season. Everybody wants to make it to Houston, to make it to that final. And they take the quick tap to the Royals, kick it out to touch, and I believe that's game as the referee blows his final whistle. The Royals will advance to the finals against St. Bonaventure.
And Queens University, another time for them advancing to the national championship against St. Bonaventure. Two teams left it all on the field here today in Charlotte. Queens victorious on their home field. Belmont Abbey just not enough offensively in the second half. They came up just short for Gennaro Fessia's team.
Yeah, I think the Royals did a fabulous job in the second half of playing their game. You saw the team chemistry. You saw what they've been working on. The forwards were extremely dominant, and I believe the backs defensively did a really strong job as well. I think they really worked together, and that's ultimately why they won this game. And so they'll be the ones going to Houston for the final.
Congratulations to the Royals advancing this local flavor here in Charlotte. Belmont Abbey and Queens renewing the rivalry with the highest stakes. Queens moves on to play for all the marbles in Houston for the national championship. Belmont Abbey initially jumped out to a 10-0 lead, was just not able to counteract the scrums and the mauls by Queens, and the Crusaders just couldn't find enough offense in the second half. Queens, as you said, EC, they were able to get good defensive posture from every player on the field, and that made the difference.
Yeah, you know, we saw a mistake also by Belmont Abbey when they were down that one man. That's when Queens scored their 2 tries to push them ahead. So everything matters in this 80 minutes of a rugby match, and they both teams fought to the absolute last minute of the game, and Queens was the one that pulled away with the win.
Queens, typically when these two teams have gotten together, some lopsided wins. This one was a little bit closer here, just the 4-point margin at the end. For Belmont Abbey, the furthest they've advanced in the NCR tournament in their entire history. Lots to build on for the Crusaders going into the end of the fall here and into the offseason for the 15s. It's heartbreak for Belmont Abbey to get this far and fall short. Excuse me, and conversely for Queens, they showed up better in the second half and they made the plays they needed to make.
Right, and we have the final going on next weekend, Saturday, December 17th. It'll be in Houston against St. Bonaventure, and that matchup, Queens versus St. Bonaventure, is the ultimate finals matchup that you want to see. Both games that they've played have always been extremely close, so it's going to be a really, really good game. It's going to be a fight just like this game, so definitely tune in for that one.
All right. We really want to thank you for tuning in to our broadcast this evening. The national semifinals. To the victors go the spoils. That's the Queens University Royals. They win it over Belmont Abbey tonight, 19-15. For all of our crew here at Queens University, we want to thank you for tuning in tonight. For my partner EC, I'm Jeffrey Childs, the play-by-play broadcaster. Enjoy the rest of your night. And Queens, we'll see you Saturday for the national championship. Good night, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the winner for today, the Queens Royals. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Have a good rest of the evening.